Howard Lyman is always the headliner at the World Veg Festival weekend that we have, and it's coming up next weekend, next Saturday and Sunday, October 3rd and 4th. In San Francisco, Golden Gate Park at 9th and Lincoln, and Howard is the showstopper. He's the one who comes on at the end and tells it really like it is. And well, he has the book, The Mad Cowboy: Plain Truth from the Cattle Rancher That Won't Eat Meat. Howard Lyman, and there have been videos since, and you probably know him from his appearance on Oprah. He was sued by the Texas Cattlemen's Association along with Oprah. And so it's unusual that we find one of the leading voices for going vegan to have your background, Howard. Your background is 4 generations cattle rancher.
Well, it's there's nothing to doubt that sometimes you come up with a good idea, and spending a lifetime in animal production, and all of a sudden the light coming on and realizing that we're eating the animals, but the animals are killing us. So luckily, I figured that out, and here I am living longer and educating people on the problems with our fork. So for me, it's been a great transition, and I'm glad to be here.
How does a 4th-generation cattle rancher go vegan?
Well, here I was in operation. Spent 45 years of my life in animal production. I have a degree in agriculture from Montana State University, and just when I thought I was on top of the world, I had 7,000 head of cattle, 12,000 acres of crop, and 30 employees. I ended up paralyzed from the waist down. The doctor told me, he said, you have a tumor on your spinal cord. If it's on the inside, you have less than 1 chance in a million you'll ever walk again. Well, I'll tell you, Bob, it really gets your attention, and you wake up to the fact that maybe everything you thought was right and honorable is really not. And so anyway, I ended up with a 12-hour operation. I walked out of the hospital. I asked my doctor, I said, what caused the tumor? And he said, well, it was adolescent cells, probably stimulated to grow by the chemicals you were using on the farm. The light came on, and I thought, oh, my God, we need to become organic farmers. So I went to my banker, and I said to my banker, I need to borrow some money. I want to start farming with nature. And my banker, he reared back in his chair and said, what in the world does that mean? And I said, I want to become an organic farmer. And he looked at me and he laughed, and he said, you want me to lend you money, and you're not going to spend it with my other customers, the chemical dealer, the pharmaceutical dealer, the fertilizer dealer? He said, there will never be a day like that. So anyway, I sold my farm, I paid my debts, but I didn't give up on what I started out to do. I started looking into it, and it wasn't just about being an organic farmer. Here I had 10 of my friends, and we all got together. We were all the same age. We're in the same business. I'm the only one that hasn't had a heart disease, cancer, or died. 6 out of my 10 friends have died, and so I started looking into it, and it was not just becoming an organic farmer. It was about what we were stuffing down our throats. And after I looked at that, here, being a 4th-generation cattleman, I thought, geez, I ought to quit eating meat, but I'd rather be caught riding a stolen horse than admitting to somebody I was thinking about becoming a vegetarian. Mm-hmm. And so, I became a good closet vegetarian. I lost some weight. My blood pressure went down. My cholesterol went down. I thought, geez, if I can do that, being the world's worst vegetarian, just think what I could do if I could become vegan. Mm-hmm. Bob, I became vegan. I lost 130 pounds. My blood pressure went from sky high to normal. My cholesterol from 300 to 135. I'll tell you what, I think I saved my life by changing my diet.
I think you did also. I think you're saving a lot of people's lives now. Tell us, how did you come to be on Oprah's show and then in the world spotlight being sued by the Texas Cattlemen's Association?
Well, I was the first person publicly that was speaking about bovine spongiform encephalopathy, or mad cow disease. And when the Minister of Health in England stood in front of Parliament and said, we no longer can assure the English people that mad cow disease cannot be transferred from cows to humans, Oprah decided to do a show about that and called Dangerous Food. They went on Nexus Lexus. They were looking who was publicly speaking about mad cow disease. My name came up the most. They called me. I went on the show. And knowing when I went on the show that there was a law that was called the Food Disparagement Law, which said it was against the law to say something you knew to be false about a perishable commodity. Well, Bob, I didn't go on the Oprah show to tell anybody something false. I went there to tell the truth. I did to tell the truth. And Oprah, to her benefit, said, that stops me cold. I will never again eat a burger. Well, now that really ticked off the cattlemen, so they decided to make an example of it, sued Oprah, Harpo Production, and myself. We spent 6 years in court, won 4 lawsuits against the cattlemen, and finally the judge threw the case out with prejudice, and, I think it was the worst thing they ever did. They gave the issue more attention than it would have ever had if they kept their mouth shut and stuck their head back in the sand. But they didn't, and so we ended up with a few million people knowing a lot more about how their food was produced than what the cattlemen ever wanted them to know.
Right, and food disparagement laws shouldn't really apply to meat and dairy, which aren't really foods anyway.
Well, they're not foods, but they keep trying to tell people they are. Yeah. Isn't that amazing, Bob? That here we are. Most of the attention in the U.S. press today is about, health care, or we're talking about dementia or swine flu. How many Americans do you think out there know right now? Every one of them is directly related to what they're eating, but we're trying to pull the wool over everybody's eyes and tell them, well, it's just about some government subsidy or some other baloney like that. So, it's about time we wake up before we kill ourselves.
Right, and your feeling is humanity is driving off a cliff right now, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. We're going towards the cliff at 200 miles an hour, And the fact of it is, Bob, that what we're doing with our fork is destroying the planet. Now, it isn't about whether you or I die. Who cares about that? What we're looking at is, are we killing the planet? Will there be a place for our children and grandchildren to live? And at the rate we're going right now, the answer to that question is no.
Howard Lyman's website is madcowboy.com. And what books or videos do you have available, Howard?
Well, I have the first book I wrote, Mad Cowboy, and the second one I wrote was No More Bull. It is the difference between good diets and bad, and 100 vegan recipes from the best chefs in the world. And then I also have a documentary called the Mad Cowboy Documentary, which is being shown on PBS on 800 stations. It's an hour of your time that will really reinforce where our food comes from.
Howard Lyman, I want to thank you so much for being with us today on Go Vegan with Bob Linden and for everything you're doing for the cause.